Hello everyone, good morning, and wish everyone is safe and healthy and enjoying these sessions on the Azure Bootcamp from your home. So yeah, a little bit about me. I'm Mangesh. I'm a developer with 7 years of experience, like Karthik has said. So I'll be demoing you the how do we create the real time dashboard with the Azure services like Cosmos DB, Functions, Similar Service, and Blazor. So yeah, so let's start. So before starting our session, I would like to meet you, our developer, Mr. Jay. So I just call him Jay. So he's a very smart developer. He likes to explore the new things, and he's like hardworking guy. So one day his boss comes and he asks him to just ask him to develop a system which will give the user the real time update of the weather. That would be for the different cities. It would be for the Pune, it would be for the Mumbai, next it would be for the Chennai. So he's asked to develop a system which will provide us the real time stats of the weather. So yes, so developer goes and he start exploring the stuff. He come up with the idea that what he will develop. So what he think is, what he start with the primary based fetching of the data, which has something architecture something like this. So here it is. So what he does is he develop an app which is web app basically. So what that particular web app does is, that web app calls the server, uh, like API, or calls the server method and gets the data from the server. And server stores the data and responds to the event which are coming from the client tab. So in this is basically a polling based dashboard basically. What happens in this case is we just set up some specific interval in which our client tab continuously keeps on polling to the server, and in return server will respond us with the data. So uh, so our developer completes this app, deploy that, and but when this app is working fine currently, but when it reaches to a certain extent, or when it reaches to a certain amount, then then our developer finds some issues with this approach. So what are the issues with this traditional approach, or what with this polling based dashboard? First issue that he faces is our client app. It tries to connect to the server whether the data is available or not. So that is the first issue that he faces. So whenever the polling happens, or whenever that time interval happens, the client app directly calls to the server, and it will try to call the server method, or it will try to call the API method to get the data. Next is, once the data is written, or once the response is written, then client app is updated regardless of any change in the data or not. So client tries to connect to the server, and once the response is written, the UI is updated whether the data is present on that particular interval or not. Third one is the selecting the time interval. So selecting the time interval is another what we say, is another hurdle while following this approach. Like we cannot say what would be the exact, or what would be the proper time interval in which we can poll to the server. So in some cases, what will happen is we will either keep on excessive calling to the server, or we will miss that interval and we will not be able to show the data to the show proper data to the client. And fourth approach, fourth problem that with this traditional approach is, as the application grow, problem. So when the application grows, and if we have these problems, like we are underfetching, or we are accessing the request to the server, then that can create a problem. What is the solution for this? I mean, we have seen what are the various problems with the polling based dashboard. What is the solution for this? The solution is design a system which will reduce the issues like traffic to the server, and then reducing and then reducing the overhead, that is updating the UI, updating the UI regardless of the data change or not. So what is the solution to this, or what design we can adopt? First thing that we need to do is we need to adopt such kind of design. What happens over here is, what we will do is the data will be added to the Cosmos DB, and Cosmos DB, as the data is added, then as the data is added, or as the data changes into the Cosmos DB, Azure Cosmos DB, it will expose a change field. Then third step would be, whenever this change field occurs, then it will trigger the Azure function, which will use the Cosmos DB trigger. Fourth one will be, fourth one will be, whenever the data is added, Azure has exposed the change field, then this change field will trigger the Azure function using the Cosmos DB trigger. And then then the next step would be, when the data arrives, in this step, what we will do is, whenever the data arrives, we will use this data and send this data to the client application, which in our case, that would be our Blazor application. So considering the change, if anyone has the question, what is the change feed? The change feed is nothing but the record of the changes which are happening on the container. So if you see, the database has the container, that is your collection, and change feed. What change feed do is, it keeps the record of the changes which are happening to the container, and these changes, or this record is accumulated by listening to any change which will happen on the collection, or we can say it as an on container. So this type, if we adopt this type of architecture, then in this case we don't need to go for the polling based dashboard, which will keep on calling the data, which will keep on calling the server to get the data. So in this case, what will happen? Change will happen to the database, and then that change will be propagated to our UI if we follow this architecture. So in this architecture, the first, there are few steps, that we want to develop into this. The first section would be to design the system like this. The data will be added, change field will be exposed, and this data will be triggered on the Azure function. This would be the second part. This will be the first part. The second part would be to integrate the Azure function and Azure SignalR service by using the input and output binding of the SignalR service. And final section of this demo would be integrate the UI changes into the application. So let's check the first section of this. How we can develop the Azure function which will accept the Cosmos DB change field using the Cosmos DB trigger. So here we are. So first thing that we need to do is we need to design a function. We need to design a function which will trigger based on the Cosmos DB changes. To do that, just I have already added the project, so I'll just add one new Azure function. So let's say it is an global use bootcamp maybe. Let's add this. Here we can see there are various types of trigger which can be used along with the Azure function. So here we will use the Cosmos DB trigger. So basically, so while creating this Cosmos DB trigger, we need to provide some key element to this. That is database name, collection name. On collection name is nothing but the container name on which our change field will occur. So in this case, so in order to use the Cosmos DB, what we need to do is I'm using the Azure Cosmos DB emulator. So you can install the Azure Cosmos DB emulator from the Microsoft sites. So here this is my Azure Cosmos DB, and this is my database which I'll be using into this demo. While creating this trigger, what we will do is we can use the database name. This is the database name. Next, I have created a collection into this. This is our collection. This is our collection or container, whatever you will call. So this is our container. So let's add this. And if you see, we have the function ready. Now, few changes that we need to do over here. So first thing that we need to do is we need to set the connection string setting. So what this setting is nothing but the key name from your app settings, or in this case local.settings.json. So we'll add this. That's it. So this is our this our Cosmos DB function, which is ready to be debugged or ready to run. So if we go here, and there is another like what we say, there is another property into this, that is lease connection name. I'll tell you what it is, but first we'll execute this function, and let's see if we can get the change field into this particular function. So I'll just comment out this function for a time being, because I had some, yeah. Let's try and run this. So this is our function which is running. Here you can see we have added our function, that is Azure Global Azure's Bootcamp, and here it is running, which is a Cosmos DB trigger. So how do we in order to check that this is working fine and working correctly, let's do one thing. Let's add one new item into this. Let's say with ID test. Let's save it. It should trigger our breakpoint over here. Yes, here it is. If you see here, what we have done is we have connected our this Azure function to the Cosmos DB. So whenever there is a change, or whenever there is a change into this container, we'll get a trigger. So this is how change field feature works. So what it does is it will just expose the whatever the records which are updated into the container, the Azure function. So here, if you can see, this was the ID that we have added. This is the test. So this is the ID that we have right now. If we continue with this, then you will see that first document ID test and document modified 1. So in this case, we can also do is we can modify the already existing document as well. Again, you can see that is test 2. So this is the way we can use the Cosmos DB change field, and we can trigger the Azure function by using the Cosmos DB trigger. So this was the first part of our demo. So the first part was Azure functions development with Cosmos DB change field. In this, we have some key element that we need to keep on that we need to keep track on. First one is the Cosmos DB trigger. That is the trigger we use to invoke the function. Next is the database name. This is the name of the database on which we are going to trigger the changes. Next is the collection name or container name. That is the name of the container on which the changes would be from which the changes would be triggered. Next is the connection string setting. This is nothing but the key name from the app settings or local settings.json for in case of Azure Functions. And finally, it is the lease connection name. So I told you while developing the application that the lease collection name. What does this lease connection name does? So it keeps the record. It keeps track of the record which are processed by using the Cosmos change field. Why they are needed? In case why they are needed? So in case, so suppose we have the 10 documents that needs to be processed, and while processing 6th document, what happens is some issue occurred or some error occurred. So what this lease collection will make sure that next time whenever our change field is processed, our documents from 6 to the next documents, whatever they are present, they are processed properly without any issues. So lease connection we will need for the recovery purposes whenever whenever some issue occurred into while propagating the change field to the Azure Functions or somewhere else. So that is the main purpose of the lease collection name. We have seen this is the first part of our demo that we have done. That data is added into the Cosmos DB, then it propagates the change field. We capture that change field and trigger the Azure function. We are here. Now what we need to do is whenever we got the data, now we need to process this data and pass this data to the client app properly. So to do that, we need to understand a little bit about the Azure SignalR service. So basically, so Azure SignalR service, as we all know, there is a SignalR like we have the SignalR functionality into the ASP.NET Core as well, .NET Core maybe. So this service, basically the Azure SignalR service provides the service configuration into the 3 modes. So how so we can see. So the service configuration is provided into the 3 modes. So let's see how we can add this service into the Cosmos DB, into the Azure, and check what are the configuration modes into the SignalR service. Let's create a resource. Let's call it SignalR service. Let's create it. We can use the we have that we can use the resource group. We can add the resource name, and here there are 3 modes which we can pick up and which we can make use of. How these 3 modes are when and where to use these 3 modes. If I go to my previous service, SignalR service, which I have added, and go to the settings here. So basically there are 3 service mode which which are provided by the Azure SignalR service. First one is the default mode. So what is the default mode? So in this case, the default mode is whenever we have the classic ASP.NET Core SignalR service, which is running on our server. In that case, we can use the default service mode. In case of servers, we have the second mode, that is the serverless. So what serverless mode offers basically is it provides a upstream feature. What is the upstream feature? This is a feature which allows the SignalR service to send the message, send the message and the connection event to the endpoints which are in the serverless mode. So basically, whenever we want to integrate our Azure SignalR service with the Azure function, we can make use of the serverless mode. Basically, when you have the traditional traditional .NET Core SignalR service, go with the default mode. When you want to when you need to integrate your SignalR service with the Azure function, go with the serverless mode. And third, there is a third mode as well here, that is a classic mode, but which has been obsolete. But this was the combination of using the default and serverless. You can have your on-premise or with the on-premise SignalR service, or the SignalR service with your hub servers and connection and everything, and you can combine that with the serverless mode as well. But in this case, this mode is obsolete completely. And what is recommended is either to use the default or the serverless. There I mean, just these two modes which are recommended to be used. In case you have the requirement that you have the hub servers as well, and you need to integrate them with the Azure functions as well, or you have the mixed requirement that you want to use, then it is recommended that you just create a one SignalR service with the default mode and another with the serverless mode. So that is how the service modes are. So this is the Azure SignalR service configuration modes. So if we go there, next is the bindings that are used along with the Azure SignalR service, which we can use. The bindings which are offered by the Azure SignalR service, which we can use with the Azure functions. First is the trigger binding. What is trigger binding? Trigger binding is nothing but it is nothing but used to trigger the Azure function, or that we can use to send the data from our Azure SignalR service to the Azure function. So we have seen while creating that Azure function that we have the various triggers, that like Cosmos DB trigger, this is an HTTP trigger. So in the same way, we can use the SignalR service binding to trigger the Azure function. Next is the input binding. We all know that in order to start the communication in between our client app and the server app, we'll need some metadata for that. First, metadata like URL, metadata like access token, access token, and that we can use the input binding of the SignalR service along with the Azure function to get that metadata. And this metadata will be provided to your client, and then client can initiate the communication with the server. So generally, we use input binding to provide the needed metadata to connect to the server. And third one is the output binding. Now we have seen that we can use the trigger binding of SignalR service to trigger the Azure function. Input binding, it will provide the metadata to the client. And third one is the output binding. Output binding, why we use output binding to broadcast the message or whatever the data which is coming from external service. Use output binding to broadcast this message or broadcast the message or the data to the all connected clients. So in our case, we'll be using input binding as well as the output binding so as to propagate the data to all the clients. Let's see how we can make use of it. So again, going back to the demo. So this is our Cosmos DB function, the Cosmos DB trigger, which will be triggered whenever there is a change feed or whenever there is a trigger from the Cosmos DB. Now, what we need to do is, in order to connect to our SignalR service, we need some metadata so that our client can connect to the server. So how we can do that? By using the input binding. So in order to create a input binding, what we will do is we'll create a some function. Let's call it as an input binding, but it is always recommended that whenever there is whenever we are using the input binding, it is always recommended that function name should be the negotiate. Okay, so how we can do this? So let's add, let's say, action info. So what this would be? This would be a simple. This would be a simple HTTP trigger. So this would be a simple HTTP trigger. Okay. Public static void get connection info. Let's say HTTP trigger. Yes, and let's say this would be, for now, let's make it anonymous, and yeah, we can send say it as an HTTP request. Then what we will use is we will use the input binding, which is provided by using the SignalR connection info. So for this, we will use the SignalR connection info. Let's add this here and here. Here in this case, we will provide the hub name, that would be the dashboard. Info, and here we will just return the connection info. If you go here and see, so what it will provide is so first step into initiating the communication with the client would be to call this function, to call this negotiate function. So what it will return is it will return you the URL as well as the access token. So I'll show you when we debug this function. I'll show you what exactly it will return. So this is the first function that we use. This is the first function in which we use the input binding of the SignalR, and we just send the metadata which is needed for the client to initiate the connection. So this is about the connection. So this is about the connection info, or using the input binding of the Azure SignalR service. Now we have seen, so this would be the first input binding, and the next. So next, what we need to use is we need to use the output binding so as to broadcast the messages to the various clients that will be connected to our Azure SignalR service. So how we can do that? So in order to do that, what we need to do is we need to modify this Cosmos DB trigger function. So this is the trigger that we have. This is our input binding that we have. Now what we need to do is we need to add the output binding, and we need to add output binding and broadcast this message to the client. For that, what we can use is we can use the output binding which is provided by using SignalR. So here again we need to provide the hub name for which we are creating this we are creating this service. And here we can say this would be collection of the signaler message, and here it is. So how we can provide this output binding to this? We use the signaler, which provides the output binding to the Azure function. Here what it will do is it will be output binding for the hub. This is the hub, which is dashboard. So what it will do is it will broadcast the messages to this hub. Again, what we need to do is here we need to add one signaler message the target. So what this target is, this is the target. This target is the method which is present on our and which is present on our client side. So this can be a message, and next is the documents, that what data that we need to provide. So we just say now root of 0.id. So this is, and let's say let's return this. So this would be it, but yeah, do this change. Again, here we need to do this change. If you see here, what we are doing is we are using the output binding. In this, we have the data. What we are doing is we are just adding the we are adding the data into this signaler message, and then we are saying to the signaler service to invoke the method which is present onto our client side. So far we have used this input binding, we have used the output binding, and now let's try to develop the UI with the Blazor. For that I have developed application already. So in this this is our UI application basically. So I have developed the application with the Blazor, and so if someone doesn't know what Blazor is, this is the same UI framework, same as that of Angular or React or Vue, we can say. And yeah, we can create a client-side apps which runs on the browser by using the Blazor. So yeah, one good thing about Blazor is we can develop our client-side UI by using the C#. So in this case, I have chosen to develop the UI with the Blazor. So there are certain steps that we need to do in order to run this application, or in order to see the output, in order to integrate the chart that we are going to show the actual representation or uh, uh, actual data whenever it is added into the Cosmos DB. So how we can do that? So there are certain steps. So first thing that what we need to do is we need to get this rjs.blazor.fork. This is the package that we need to install. Then next change that we need to do is to next change that we need to do is we need to add some script. We need to add some script into so that there is some there are some static files which needs to be generated by using some by using some interop and everything. So we need this static file for the representation or for the chart. So let's say, and this is the metadata that we need to import into our index.html page. Next thing that we need is we need to change is the import section. Oh no, not this, but yeah, here it is. So here we need to import our ArcGIS.blazor so that we can use it into our component. And then final step is to add this ArcGIS into our mockup or into our component, something like this. So here what we are doing is we are creating a chart component, and we are setting the config property of that particular chart. So here let's see how the exactly the integration of our so now we have seen the UI part, that how we can integrate that. I mean, I am not uh, uh, so I'm not going to demo that, but let's see how exact demo that or code that into this demo. Or now let's see how we can integrate. Now we have seen the connection input binding, which will provide us the connection info. Now next we have seen the output binding, which will broadcast the message to the client. Now we'll design our client so that we can accept the messages or accept the data which is coming from the SignalR service. So how, so we have seen over here, right? I mean, where it is. So yeah, so in this, so we need to set some config over here. So the first step that would be that. So here, first step that if you see into this demo or into this code is on initialize async. This is the page load or ng on init that we can use into the Angular. So this method is same like that. On page load or on initialize, what we are going to do is we are going to set up a configuration for the chart that we are going to use. So in this case, I'm going to use the line configuration. So this is nothing but the metadata which is used for the which is used to display the chart. This is the first thing that we need to do, that set up the config. Now here the actual integration with the SignalR service comes. What we are going to do is, here we are going to build the hub connection, and which will be, this is the URL which will be used to create the connection. What this hub connection will call is, it will call our input it will call our negotiate function that we have created into the demo, which uses the input binding, and which will return the metadata like URL, the SignalR service URL, and the access token that we will need to use. First step, second step into this is to build the connection. Next is to connect to the next is to connect. So we have the connection info. We have the connection info. We know which SignalR we have the address info. We have the connection info. We have the URL, and now it's time to connect to the hub connection. Basically, in this, what we do is the hub connection provides a method on. What it will do is, it will register a handler. It will register a method which will be invoked from the hub method, or which will be invoked from the hub whenever there is a data which is added into the hub. Then this message, this service, this function will be invoked. So what we are doing is, we are registering a handler on this. We are, by using this on method, we have the function name, that is dashboard message, and we are accepting these kind messages that we are sending. That we are sending to here. If you see this target, this is the name of the method which we have Okay, so which we have here. So this and this is the target, or these are the arguments which are passed this and message, and again we are just iterating on that, and we are just filling up some data set. So I have just added some static data set for our demo purpose. They are data set for Pune and data set for Mumbai, so that I can display the exact what we can say the so that we can display the charts into our application. So if you see the data sets, then there we go. If you see the data set, so here you can see there is another some metadata is over here which is needed for the chart. So this I am using for line chart, and next is the bar chart. So again, same procedure, same process, that we will create, we will connect to the hub, we will add that. And one more thing that you might have noticed is here the state has changed. State. So what does this tell the browser is, or what this method basically we use to reload our page, or it tells the browser that your UI needs to be updated. So whenever that method is called, then our UI is refreshed automatically instead of doing that manually. So this will change our UI. Then graph will be so whenever the new data is coming, initially it will be nothing. Whenever the new data comes, it will call this method. Will based on the CTID, will change the data set, and then the corresponding UI will be updated, or corresponding UI will be refreshed. So, so if you see into this application, so this application is present on the GitHub as well. So if you see here, so this is my UI project, and then I have one what we say one console application as well, which adds the data into the Cosmos DB on a regular interval. So I have kept it to the 15 or 20 seconds, I guess. So this is how we can do that. So let's try to run our demo and see the output. I mean, before that, I'll just clean up the functions that we have added. Let's say that, and here, so this is the function that I had created earlier. So I'll just use them for the demo, and yeah, let's try to debug these functions and see what the connection info is, what it provides, and everything. So I'll just create this. Okay, and I'll just start this. I'll just start this. So there are three there are three projects. One is the just console application, which keeps on adding the data, so that we can have the we can see that data is coming. And another is the Azure Functions app. This is our Azure Functions app, and this is our UI. So data will be added into from the console app, which will trigger the function, and the UI will be updated. So this would be the sequence into that. If I go here and execute that, so it is running. It is taking some time to load, and yeah, already you can see that our console app is running, and that's why it is triggering the Azure Functions as well. So here you can see this is my UI. So here we go. Whenever the client initiates the communication, whenever clients initiate the communication, what he needs to do is he needs to connect to the server, so that, and he needs to have some connection info as well. So if you can see here, there are the access tokens as well, and there is a URL as well. So here we have the URL for the dashboard, hub dashboard, which we have created over here, and we have the access token to access this hub as well. So we have the access token, we have the connection info, we have the URL. Now we can use this to show the data. So it is loading initially, so it will load. Again, whenever that data is added, we will have this function called from the server. So this is the function which we have added. So here you can see it that okay. So this is the target. This is the method name which is present on the client side. So if you see here, this is the client side code. This is the Blazor code which is getting called from our server or from our Azure function. This would be called, and in this we have some metadata, or we have our own logic to display the UI. You will see here. So if you see here that our charts are updating. What happened? Let me just disable all the breakpoints and just refresh it once. Okay. Okay, and here it is. Let me disable this. Go. Here it is. You can see the chart has been. Let me disable, delete this. So continue. And yeah, here you can see. Let me stop it again and run it. Maybe. There are some issues with Blazor, I guess. So let me run it again. Let me close this, and yeah, let me start this. So our application is running. So there is nothing on that. Okay, here we are. It is loading. It is loading, and so it is taking a bit time to execute the function. So here we can see the function is not executed yet. I don't know what is happening. You can see. Yes, the dashboard is executed, and here you can see the functions. So yeah, so the sequence would be that so function is added, function is triggered, and UI is updated. So in that way, we are adding the data, we are using the function, triggering the function, we are using the SignalR service, and we are updating the UI. So this is how it works. Like this, there is nothing, no polling. Whenever the data is there, we are updating the UI. That's it. We are using the we are we are not loading the server. We are not excessive like we are not sending the excessive request to the server as well. We are just using the we are just our UI is plain simple without any overhead or anything. That whenever the data is present, just update the UI. That's it. So this is how our application works. And if you see into the server into the service, discard it. If you see the service here, you can say the client which are connected is two. You will be able to see the the traffic that or the number of clients which are connected, or so number of connections which are there. So there are couple of things that you can observe from there. Here you will see. So yeah. Okay, so is there any question like till now? I think do you have any questions? Okay, and if there are no questions, then okay. So here is my here you can find me. There is my Twitter account, and on LinkedIn you can find me by my name, Engage, and you can find me by my blog, that is .netgeek.com.